Man, I could not wait to do this video. I had to wait all weekend until I finally got around to doing this video. You know, I seen a Maurice Hooker fight. I was at work. I was working late. And ES News pops up this back and forth between, like, I seen the little short ones when they were still around the ring and Errol and Terence Crawford was going back and forth. But it was nothing crazy. You know, it's like, all right. You know, they finally face to face and stuff. So that's cool. But ES News puts out an 11-minute long video of them just going back and forth behind the scenes in the arena. And I don't know about you guys, but this was probably the most exciting thing I've seen all year in the welterweight division. Like, literally, no one that I want to see fighting each other are fighting each other. And the fights that we have been seeing, they weren't like the greatest fights. This is like all year. We're not getting the fights we want. So finally, two guys come face to face. And they going at it. They talking all that shit. And my favorite part about it is they still got a lot of respect for each other. You know what I'm saying? It didn't go into a shoving match. It didn't get disrespectful. You know, when Errol was talking about the guy that was with Terence Crawford that was standing behind him talking, I got a little worried at that point. But these guys, you know what? They kept the focus on them. And they just talked their shit. And it was hilarious. It was fun. They started making all these retarded bets, talking about ball, you know, talking about coaches, you know, all that stuff. But the main part of it was the first few minutes of the face-off backstage. So let's talk about it. It's a lot of stuff I'm going to talk about in this video. All right? Because a lot of things were confirmed with me. And, you know, people tend to forget that Terence Crawford is used to doing this shit. Like, people look at, like, I see how people are saying, like, you know, Terence Crawford is not calling out Errol Spence's name and stuff like that. He hasn't called out his name in his post-fight interviews. All right, he's like, yeah, I want to fight them all. You know, whoever's holding the title or whatever, he wants to fight them all. You know? And people took that as, oh, he don't really want it with Spence. Yeah. But the thing is, when Terence Crawford sees you, he's a whole different person. Terence Crawford was his real self when he faces off with you. Ask Hank Lundy. Ask Regis Prograis. Ask, who else? Benavidez. Yo, all these guys that he has a potential chance of fighting or he's fought, ask how Terence Crawford is when he's face-to-face with them. Terence Crawford is known to pop that shit. And I think a lot of fans are forgetting that. This guy that we're seeing in the ring, that's not Terence Crawford. You know? That's the Terence Crawford that they want to remain conservative when he's doing his interviews, you know? That's not him. The real Terence Crawford is the one that you saw against Errol Spence that night. That's him. And Errol Spence is a guy that's just now in the past year have been opening up more in these interviews. He's opening up more. It's good. It's actually making him more of a superstar because people are liking the fact that he's talking now. He's doing more talking now, and he's backing it up. But Terence Crawford has been that way. He's been that way. And Terence Crawford, you know, I had to watch it. I watched the interview again today because I was like, all right, you know what? I have time now. I'm going to do this video. Let me watch it again. And I want to actually critique what they're saying, you know? And Terence Crawford, listen, if this was a 12-round fight, Terence Crawford got out of here in 3 rounds. All right? It is what it is. Terence Crawford is just more witty. He's just better at this back and forth shit. He knows exactly what to say. He's quick. Errol Spence said a lot of things that kind of exposed and kind of really made him Just like Keith Thurman and Sean Porter and all these other guys. Danny Garcia, he basically told you and exposed itself, like how he really feels about it. Errol Spence went from Errol Spence the Truth to Errol Spence the promoter. And it's back and forth. You know? Deflecting, talking about Mikey Garcia and all that. Nah. All right? First thing I noticed, Terence Crawford was like, I think Errol Spence was like, shit, I put up 100K, I win. Terence Crawford said, I put up $1 million since you're getting all that money. That goes back to what Errol Spence was saying. This reminds me of battle rap in a way. You guys watch battle rap, you know what I'm talking about. The rebuttals with Terence Crawford was like quick. Oh, you want to put up 100,000? Let's put up $1 million since you're getting all that money. Goes back to what Errol was saying. You know, you speak to Al. Oh, I met Al. Bob Arum's right there. Bob Arum looks like he never knows what the hell is going on. He's like way too old. But Bob Arum sitting in there, he's like, yo, we speak to Al? They like, you speak to Al? With Al him? Well, Spence is like, well, he's saying I'm going to first fight Mikey. And then I might fight Sean Porter and Keith Thurman. This is the same guy that's saying that I'm a Showtime fighter. I'm trying to fight on the same side of the street. I want to knock these guys out. He don't even know if he's going to get those fights. He doesn't even know if those fights are next. Those are the fights we know he won. Errol clearly wants those fights. But he doesn't even know I might fight Keith Thurman or Sean Porter. This is the same dude that was talking all that same side of the street shit. You on the wrong side of the street. You the boogeyman, but you getting chased by Terence Crawford. How are you the boogeyman if Terence Crawford is chasing you? And Terence Crawford has already said publicly, they all want Keith Thurman the most. They want Keith Thurman the most. Keith Thurman already accomplished the most at 147. Can we all agree to that? Whether you like Spence, whether you like Crawford, can we all agree that they all want Keith Thurman first? Sean Porter too. Sean Porter wants Thurman. Spence wants Thurman more. Crawford wants Thurman. Crawford has always stayed consistent and said that Thurman is the man at 147. He had the 2 titles. I mean, he only has 1 now, but he had the 2 titles and he accomplished the most. He beat Danny and Sean Porter. He accomplished the most. So that's fair. That's fair. But this guy is saying to Bob, oh, you have his number. No, who do you want to fight? You face to face with the man that's coming at you. You was face to face with Sean Porter. Sean Porter really ain't want that smoke. You was face to face with, I saw the PBC. I got to do a video on that shit too. The PBC rollout. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter want to be friends with Errol so bad. They want to laugh and joke it off. Ha, ha, ha. They all buddies. You know, Errol Spence interrupting their interviews. Keith Thurman want to laugh and joke. It's all funny. That's not the same Keith Thurman that was coming at Paulie Malignaggi years ago. That's not him. He's not the same Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman he don't have that same energy with Errol Spence. And that's what pisses me off about Thurman. But he's been injured and he's been out the game. He hasn't fought. So it is what it is. You know? But the key thing, the one key thing out of this whole interview, and everybody's saying it, you know, what did Spence say? Well, let Terence Crawford move up to 147. I want to see what he's going to do. Once he pick up a belt, then maybe you can make a fight. Bud said, well, I have a belt. Now what's up? I have a belt. What do you want me to do? What did Errol Spence, the promoter, say? Well, Porter has a belt too. Why not go the easier route and knock Sean Porter out? That's it. Everything that I've been saying about these fighters at welterweight is they all the same, man. Now we know the truth. Now we know the real truth. The truth is Errol Spence is a promoter. That's what he is today. Now that he won, beat Kell Brook, he's the promoter. I'm a Showtime fighter. I'm not fighting on no ESPN. You know? That's him. Sean Porter, how do you feel that dudes is sitting here talking like you just some easy-ass bum with a belt? This is what these fighters do at welterweight. Why was Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence chasing Danny Garcia so hard? You know why? Because he was the weakest opponent at welterweight. The weakest champion. He was the weakest one. Can we just be honest at this point? We're going into a new year. Danny has lost to Sean Porter. He has lost to Keith Thurman. He doesn't currently have a belt. Can we all just admit that this guy was the easiest champion to beat? Can we all just admit that now? Can we just be real about it? Because I've been saying it. And I'm like, why are these guys going so hard at Danny Garcia? Why are they not going after the other champions like the way? Why is the energy with Sean Porter? He's doing all these wrestling videos. He's doing all these crazy call-outs for Danny Garcia. But you got Errol Spence right there. And let's go back to the other side of the street. Let's go back to that real quick. But when Jeff Horn beat Manny Pacquiao, who was the first on Twitter talking about, oh, I'll take that fight with Jeff Horn? Danny Garcia. One of those fighters on the other side of the street. Not on HBO, not on Top Rank. But he'll take that Jeff Horn fight. You know why? Because Jeff Horn looked like food. I don't think he was food at all. But these guys, they know what's easier. They know, and they all do it. Spence exposed himself in this interview. You the boogeyman, but you the PBC boogeyman. You're not the welterweight boogeyman. Terence Crawford is the welterweight boogeyman. Because he's chasing you, Thurman, and Porter. He wants to fight all of them. He's not, y'all meeting, y'all in the same room together. You've been in the same room with Keith Thurman and Sean Porter so many times. And we see the energy. These guys don't want it with you, Spence. They don't want you. They want you as the very last option on the PBC side. But at the end of the day, none of them want to fight Terence Crawford. You heard Keith Thurman this past week. What has he done? Keith Thurman, come on, my man. My brother, my man, like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? You don't want Spence, but you're saying he's the number 2. But you need, I don't know how many fights you need before you fight him. Errol Spence is like, you're going to get injured again. He's disrespecting you. Now he's disrespecting you and Porter. He's basically saying, why not knock Sean Porter out? Yo, Sean out here. Yo, Sean. They treated Sean Porter. I'm sorry, man. Sean Porter, man. They treating Sean Porter like he trash, man. I don't know, man. You know, Spence didn't say anything to me. You know, it was fun to watch, but when I had to really sit here and critique it, you know, even when he said, well, when I stop you, they're going to say that he's too small, and he's referring to Terence Crawford. You say that to Terence Crawford to his face, right? When I stop you, they're going to say that you too small. But you sitting here fighting a lightweight in your very next fight. And it's a pay-per-view. They have the nerve to make that a pay-per-view. You fighting a lightweight. Like, if you a fan of Errol Spence, right? Or if that's your man's, if you a fan or if that's someone you close to, are you pointing this shit out to him at all? Like, I can't be a fan of someone or know someone personally and let that ride. Like, I might not say it in public, but behind the scene, I'm going to let them know, like, my man, you fucked up in that interview. Clearly. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything you said, Terence Crawford had a rebuttal for it. Sitting right there. How are you going to defend this now? Terence Crawford is officially the boogeyman. And I made a video recently, and I got a lot of you guys that are a big fan of Spence. Let's be real about it. Let's be completely real about it. A lot of you guys, like Errol Spence, are fans with Terence Crawford too. But you don't like Terence Crawford because he's with Bob Arum. Let's be 100% about that. You like Bud, but you don't like the fact that he's with Bob Arum. That's why you riding with Spence. A lot of you guys don't really like Spence better. A lot of you just don't like the fact that he's with Bob Arum. Same thing with Lomachenko. You know Lomachenko is nice. You know he's a great fighter, without a doubt. You like him, but you don't like the fact that he's with Bob Arum. And that's why a lot of you guys were riding with Rigondeaux when that fight came up. You don't like Bob Arum. That's the problem in this whole situation. But how do you ride with someone like Al Heyman, someone that you've never seen him in an interview before? You never even seen this guy. For many years, people thought Al Heyman was Sam Watson. They thought that was the same dude. But you riding with a guy that you don't even know. You don't even know. He's not even, I'm not sitting here trying to defend Bob Arum because I don't like Bob Arum. I don't like Bob Arum. I don't like Eddie Hearn. I don't like Oscar De La Hoya. I don't like Al Heyman. I don't like any of these dudes. They're promoters. They are promoters. I don't like Frank Warren. I don't like none of these dudes. They don't fight. They're in it for their own self-greed. They're not here to make the sport better. They are here to make money. They don't have to get in the ring and fight. I don't like any of them. I think I dislike some of them more than others, but I don't like any of them. I don't like it. So what I'm trying to say is, let's be real. If you're riding with Errol Spence, a lot of people that's riding, no, some people really like Spence better, and that's cool. I really don't know who would win that fight. I think that's the best matchup, though, at welterweight right now. Clearly, this is the fight that people want. This is the biggest fight. Look at the hype that this is getting. People ain't even thinking about Keith Thurman no more. They ain't even thinking about Sean Porter anymore. They talking about these two. But let's be honest. It's a Bob Arum thing that's an issue. Now, I didn't really address, like before, I'm gonna get out of here, but I never really addressed Errol Spence and his press conference that he had where he was drunk. And now that I know the truth, like I know like how Errol's thinking. Errol is he's a businessman at this point. He's complete businessman. So if you have any issue, at least with Keith Thurman, like the people that was, when I was still on here making videos defending Keith, all these videos, I was defending Keith because people were saying that Keith was ducking Errol. When Keith was fighting Sean Porter and when Keith was fighting Danny Garcia, when Errol didn't even have a belt, before he fought Kell Brook. It wasn't until after Kell Brook fight where I was like, all right, Keith, you know what? I'm ready to see you fight this guy, and he's been injured since. He fought Danny Garcia, who at the time was still more established than Terence Crawford. Errol Spence. So I defended Keith for these reasons. But Errol beat Kell Brook and didn't do shit else. And when he went on that press conference talking that wrong side of the street, the reason why I made these videos is like, listen, you on the same side of the street as all of these welterweights, and you can't get a fight with any of them. Your boy Al, can't get you a fight. He can't get you to fight with Sean Porter or Keith Thurman. So why don't you fight? That's. I wasn't trying to play Errol and the PBC. I'm just trying to say, like, yo, you were always saying that you wanted all of the belts. You wanted to be undisputed. You said that before Terence moved up. You said that you wanted to see what he was going to do at 147, and you was waiting for him to get a belt. So why not fight him? The fight can be made. I think fans keep forgetting that these fights can't be made. Don't fall for this brainwashed bullshit that these promoters can't make these fights because they're on different networks and stuff. These fights can be made. If there's a demand for the fight, they can be made. They can be made. If Errol Spence or if Canelo was willing to fight Errol Spence right now, Errol will be fighting Canelo Alvarez. All right? The fights can be made. They can work them out. They can work it out. Don't fall for that bullshit. But going back to that interview, Errol Spence, he has to humble himself. I like the fact that he's talking shit, but he needs to humble himself a little bit. All right? He was going in there, going on Chris Algieri. Who did Terence Crawford fight better than Chris Algieri? Are you serious, bro? Chris Algieri? Chris Algieri hasn't even fought since you beat him up. Are you saying the same Chris Algieri that got knocked down by Manny Pacquiao 6 times? All right? Are you saying the same Chris Algieri that lost to Amir Khan, even though Terence Crawford beat the guy that knocked out Amir Khan in 1 round? Are you saying about that same Chris Algieri? Chris Algieri had one win against Ruslan Provodnikov, who did nothing but lose after that fight. Ruslan Provodnikov. Ruslan Provodnikov lost to damn John Molina, bro. Ruslan Provodnikov lost to Matisse. Lost to Tim Bradley. He lost to everybody. Except Mike Alvarado. Don't hype up Chris Algieri. Ricky Burns has accomplished more than Chris Algieri. Look it up. He accomplished more than Chris Algieri. Regis Prescott got a bigger win than Chris Algieri. Don't go with that. Who did he fight? He fought Victor Postal. Victor Postal knocked out the fighter in Lucas Matisse. He gave him his first. He was the first to ever knock. Not even Danny Garcia knocked out Lucas Matisse. And Matisse had one eye. But Victor Postal knocked out Lucas Matisse. And guess who Lucas Matisse knocked out quicker than you did, Spence? Lamont Peterson. You have one big win. That's Kell Brook. And that's a big win. Not shutting that down. Kell Brook was undefeated. You went to his house. You went to his backyard. You fought him. You know, he had a title. He was one of the best welterweights. You beat him. You stopped him. Great win. I would never discredit that win. But don't hype up your wins with Lamont Peterson. Love the win. But Lamont Peterson has been losing and getting in close fights, debatable fights with people for years. All right? His biggest win was debatable. And that was against Amir Khan. That was a debatable win. If you take those points, he didn't win that fight. So let's not go with that whole look at my resume. Yo, Terence Crawford got a solid resume. I'm not trying to overhype his resume too, because he had a lot of fights with people that I knew he was going to win against. But they were accomplished fighters. And you know what? Everybody wants to downplay the Jeff Horn win now. Everybody wants to downplay that. But you know what? Whether you think he beat Manny Pacquiao or not, whether you think he won that fight, Jeff Horn still gave Manny Pacquiao one of his toughest fights in recent years. All right? You can make the argument that outside of the first fight, Jeff Horn did better than Tim Bradley did in that second and third fight. Jeff Horn did better than Chris Algieri, the guy you're gassing. Jeff Horn did better than a lot of Manny Pacquiao opponents. Jesse Vargas. He dropped Jesse Vargas. I personally thought the Jeff Horn fight was a draw with Manny Pacquiao. You know, if I absolutely had to give a winner, if I absolutely had to win, not based on judging the rounds, I would probably say Manny Pacquiao. If I absolutely had to. But I thought a draw was fair. I thought it was 6 rounds. I scored it 6-6. You know, you can make the argument that a lot of these good fighters that Manny Pacquiao fought, they didn't give a better effort than Jeff Horn did. But now that Terence Crawford beat Jeff Horn, now we're going to downplay Jeff Horn. Like he wasn't nobody. I bet any top welterweight was willing to fight Jeff Horn after he won that fight. So let's not do that. I think I addressed everything that I wanted to address in this video. All right. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I will be doing a video on the PBC rollout. I want to speak on a lot of those fights that came up there. But it's clear, you know, I'm still waiting to see what Keith Thurman is going to do. I think if anybody has an excuse, I don't like the way Keith Thurman is talking and conducting himself when it comes to Errol Spence. But at the end of the day, I can't prove that he really wasn't injured or he was faking injuries. I can't prove that. I can't. And at the end of the day, he did still fight Danny Garcia. He did fight Sean Porter. And he beat both of them. Okay? And Keith Thurman is very, very dangerous. You know, he fought Leonard Bundle. He fought, you know, I know Errol beat him quicker, you know. But I need more than just that. You know, you're fighting an old guy that's even older. And I believe Keith was injured in that fight. I need more than that. I don't like I said, Keith Thurman, I personally have lost it a little bit as a fan with him because he's just not the same dude. And he's not active. And I believe that both titles should have been stripped. And I think if both titles were stripped from him, I really don't know if he would even fight anymore. You know, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, man. I know it's a long video, but I make them this way so I can address all the issues because I hate when these guys come in the comments and they say a lot of things that I didn't address. So I try to address everything here. All right. Spence, I still like Spence, but he clearly has changed already. And I don't like that. You know, because you wanted to fight all of these guys, but now that you got a belt and you have a little bit of power, now you're talking like you're the big money man. You're talking about how you get more money. I make more money than him. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so now we got to bring up politics now. Who's getting more views? Well, Terence Crawford got a lot of views in this fight with Benavidez. And they brought that up in the interview. And this guy on the side is saying, yeah, but ESPN, everybody watches that. Well, if he's on a network that everybody's watching, then why are you with Showtime then? But Errol didn't say that. It was one of his boys or whatever. All right, I'm out, yeah. Peace.